All right, well, it's the weekend. I have a little more time again. Got the random number generator basically up. This needs set for 14 here. And it's going to be number 10 today. Chicken XXV by Rogue. So, the designer of Hyper Rogue. I can't remember if Hyper Rogue was basically Cinderella or not, but well, let's just see here if he's got anything basically to look at. I'm pretty sure Rogue has some 70URLs. I'm just not sure which ones are which. Or if they're all 70URLs they've worked out from. So that was basically his game right here. Hyper Rogue. I mean, it's entirely possible some of these are 70URLs and he posts them on itch.io like after. He published them on itch.io like after 2017, which basically was when the 70URLs moved over here. Let's see if he's got a profile basically here. We're here in let's see, roguelikes, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really list if he's got any 70URLs, but whatever. Let's just get to it then, shall we? Chicken XXV by Rogue. This is an entry to Roguetemple's Fortnight. This is not a roguelike. It lacks what made Rogue different from text adventures. It is more a pastiche of rules of the jam, according to which nut hacking are roguelikes, decided which are not traditional roguelikes. Seed in-game ran for more. Okay. So it's not a traditional roguelike. It's just him who basically made it. It's a browser-based game. How exciting. You have just finished training in the local adventure guild and you prepare for your first actual adventure. Find a lost shirt of cure diaphosis in a domain's mystery. Many have tried, none have returned, but you hope that eventually knowledge from your elders will help you. But before that, you need to choose a name you'll be famous as. So we got game here, high scores, score name, story about, whatever. Here's the rules. Here's the rant. I'll get to that in a bit, but we'll read that maybe after we go for the game. So rules. The rules are simple and not necessarily to win the game. It is possible to have fun, to just experiment, but if you want to know how the game is constructed, here you are. The game consists of 10 questions. You need to answer all questions correctly to win. An incorrect answer, and you have to start again. The first 4 questions are easy. Each of them has 2 out of 5 correct answers. The last 6 questions are hard. Each of them has 1 out of 5 correct answers. In every easy question, 1 and 2 answers also provide a hint, which reveals one of the wrong answers for a hard question. In every run, the order of questions in both groups is random, and also hints are randomized from all possible choices without repetition during a run. You can enter reset, which will clear the high score list and also randomize all questions, including the correct answers. Have fun. So let's just go here with DFuxa. Alright, so exploring a nearby small cave should be a good way to find useful loot. Inside, find a room that looks like an ancient shrine. Inside, you meet a friendly priest. What do? You can convert to the priest's religion. You can talk to the priest, but do nothing more. You can attack the priest. You can donate lots of money. You can donate a small amount of money. So, there's 2 wrong, or 2 right, 3 wrong here. I don't know if I have any money just to begin with, but let's just try talking. You have a nice conversation, but that does not prepare you for the dangers ahead. You die. Press enter to play again, or enter scores to view the high scores list. Okay, so. So yeah, basically only have Alright, so usually who cares? Try again. I guess I don't like 2s or something like that. Yeah, I don't like numbers apparently, so we'll try again with DFuxa. Alright, you spend many days fighting various monsters. You're sometimes hurt, but you feel good about gaining fighting experience. However, it looks longer than you expected. You are starving. You decide to eat a corpse of a defeated monster. You can eat a wraith. You can eat a mine worm. You can eat a venomous spider. You can eat a fire dragon. You can eat a rogue human. So, cannibalism, spider, fire dragon, a mine worm. That's probably parasitic, or a wraith, which is undead. None of these are good choices, but I guess we'll go with the dragon. Your stomach burns from inside, you die. So, that's basically where it's be expected. We'll try again. DFuxa. You enter a small cave, expecting it to be easy inside. Inside, you're attacked by a large Mali. You can run away. You can fight with a vorpal sword. You can simply do nothing. What the heck is a Mali, by the way? You can cast a fireball spell. You can fight with your silver longsword. Like, I have no idea what a large Mali basically is, so... I don't know, let's just use the sword. Enter one of the words in bold. I do not know what the sword means, so sword. Okay, so you easily cut off its head with your sword, so vorpal worked. Where do you go now? You see multiple options and wonder which will be right for your adventure of your experience level. You can explore the weird vortex, you can go to the flaming tower, you can explore the hedge maze, you can hunt monsters in the swamp, or you can go to a town and ask for a quest. It could be like, the dog quest idea. Hunt monsters in a swamp, flaming tower. All of this looks dangerous. This looks too easy. Let's try the swamp. Alright, so you notice that the trees in the swamp form a message. One should never eat red mushrooms. Okay? You spend many days fighting various monsters. You are sometimes hurt, but you feel good about gaining fighting experience. However, it took longer than expected. You were starving, you decided to eat a corpse of a defeated monster, so it's a wraith, worm, fire, all this other stuff. You know the dragon's going to burn us. I guess we'll go with the rogue human. Be cannibalistic. You find out the rogue was carrying a diary. You learned that orange is not apple-like. Exploring the nearby small cave should be a good way to find useful loot. Inside, find a room that looks like an ancient shrine. Inside, you meet the priest. Let's just donate money and maybe get a blessing or something. You donate lots of money and the priest blesses you. You explore the rest of the cave safely. A mouth appears on the wall and says that black mushrooms drain your strength. You hear a roar of a mighty nimble troll. You're quite sure you won't defeat it without some magic. You look at all the weird mushrooms you have collected. So you can eat the white mushroom, green mushroom, red is bad. And we're told that, the other mushrooms are bad as well. The, black mushrooms, I think? It did tell us, a bunch of mushrooms are bad, so... White is probably edible. Let's try a blue mushroom. You eat a blue mushroom, you become weaker. You can no longer wield your powerful weapons, the hammer and Mjolnir, and can't defeat the nimble troll, you die. So, blue is not the right answer. And, words. Alright, so soon all the world will know the glorious life of words. Exploring the nearby small cave should be a good way to find useful loot. Find a room that looks like an ancient shrine. Inside, meet the priest. Let's convert, see what that does for me, if anything. I don't like the fact you can't cannibalize stuff, by the way, but whatever. You die, you convert, but then someone managed to anger a new god, so, traditional, really nonsense. Alright, where to go now? You see multiple options and wonder which will be the right for an adventure of your experience level. We know swamp is good. Now I suspect the maze is probably too easy. Oh, apparently the maze is fine. You spend many days fighting various monsters. You're sometimes hurt, but you feel good about getting fighting experience. I kind of feel like the maze should have been this is too easy to fight for you, so you don't get any experience, but whatever. So dragon is bad, rogue is good. Let's try the worm. You lose all your skills and you are soon killed by a rat. Alright, so worm is bad, dragon is bad. Can you eat the wraith? You are drained and too weak to fight anymore. You die. Alright, so we got the large mallee again. Is it, like, you know, immune to fire, wonder? Turns out mallees are resistant to fire. Apparently they are. I mean, this sort of, like, you know, makes me, like, you know, think back to, like, the days of, like, you know, terrible rogues. Where they didn't really give you any information, just sort of, like, lets you know, figure out basically how to, like, you know, sort of deal with them. It's like, what the heck is a mallee? I have no idea. I guess a spider. Again, you can't, you know, capitalize. You feel very sick, but somehow survive. I don't know why, like, you know, the event spider is okay, but okay. Exploring a nearby small cave should be a good way to find useful loot. Inside, find a room that looks like an ancient shrine. Inside, you meet a friendly priest. What do you do? So convert didn't work. Talk didn't work. Donate lots of money. Why not? Let's attack him. You attacked. The priest is much more powerful than expected. Now, something nice to note here is, like, none of these are basically randomized, so technically it's just, like, you know, not a roguelike because there's no pseudo generation basically happening here. You find out Rogue was carrying a diary. You learn that luring a green dragon is a bad idea. So basically, like, you know, there's like a good or bad question, I guess, here. And if you basically get, like, the good, like, you know, question, then, like, you know, it gets the idea. So luring a green idea is a bad idea. So let's donate a small amount of money. You did AB. Where do you go now? You see multiple options and wonder which would be the right venture for you. Maze. Alright, blah blah. Large mallee again. Let's use a silver longsword. When the silver touches the mallee's skin, it turns into a young girl. She says that the black mushrooms drain your strength. You hear a roar of a mighty nimble troll, blah blah. So black is bad, blue is probably bad, red is bad. I don't know. Green? You eat a green mushroom, you become a bit more resistant to damage. It is enough to defeat such a powerful beast, though. It's not enough to defeat such a powerful beast, though. So green was good, but not good enough. Let's see here. Swap. So blah blah. Apple's not apple-like. So we'll do lots here. Silver is bad against Lurus, apparently. Good to know. So we want to use silver against you. She says the potions of dwarf growth are useless. We get the stuff here. Let's go with the diary again. So oranges are not, you know, whatever. So you need to rest for a night. So you decide to enter a friendly farming village. A farmer greets you. Hello, our humble village specializes in apple-like fruits. What is your favorite apple-like fruit? You like apple fruits, orange fruits, pineapple fruits, strawberry fruits, or pear fruits? Let's go with apple fruits. The farmer looks at you in disbelief. No, they like apple-like fruits, but they do not like apples, are not apple-like. According to some ancient definition, you're immediately put through in prison for blasphemy and stay there until you die. So, you know, we'll take one more run. All right, so let's go swap, get our hint. So one should never eat red mushrooms. Potions of dwarf growth are useless. Inside you're attacked by a large mallee. Armor protects us apparently. You enter a dungeon level with lots of dead knights. You can kill yourself. You can wear a blindfold. You can remove all the armor and clothes. You can drink a potion of dwarf growth, or you can put wax in your ears. Remove all the armor and clothes. You were easily defeated. You did not even notice by what, and you were naked. That was so embarrassing. I probably read that wrong or whatever it basically said there, but whatever. Try again. So rogue. Apple is not apple-like. Duh. Alright, so talk to a priest. Swamp. Enter a small cave. Blah blah. It's a large mallee. So armor protects us again. She says scrolls of scare monsters should not be ignored. You're pursued by a powerful storm quagga. This might be a great use for your scroll of scare monster. What do you do? Read. You hear a maniacal laughter in distance. The storm quagga runs away. You hear a roar of a mighty nimble troll. So green was not enough. Blue is bad. Let's go with white then. Alright, well, I think I've basically had enough. Like, you know, here's the thing about this game. There's really no procedural generation is the idea, like, here. So the questions are basically, like, always the same. So there's technically no roguelike basically here. It's just a text game. I'll read the rant in a bit, but I'm just going to, like, you know, rate the game basically as it is right here. So I did that wrong. There we go. And let's change this to A10. All right, so in terms of completeness, the game seems to work, like, you know, more or less as is. There was an issue, like, you know, I mean, you know, it is what it is. A little finicky entering the capitalized letters. Like, I'm not the, like, you know, maybe in, like, old NetHack type of, like, style games that might, like, you know, have, like, no information where you have to sort of trial and error your way through stuff, or, like, yeah, like, wiki game information. I kind of feel like, you know, modern days games should basically have some hints on basically how to defeat stuff. Like, you know, maybe you can see, like, you know, it's Ephraim, and, like, you know, like, Ephraim's basically weak to silver or something like that. Like, something like that. Aesthetic-wise, fun. I mean, blah. Not much more to say than that. Innovative. I'll note the, when I basically say, like, quizzes like this. Like, here's the thing. This is, like, sort of like a type of game I sort of respect, like, you know, sort of like a background or, like, you know, vocation type of quiz to be. Like, you know, you basically like answer the question so like you narrow down what your basically is. This just has this like if you pick like the wrong question, you basically just die, and that's basically all it really is. So nothing really like new or inspiring here to say the least. Scope. I mean, probably give you 2 here, but like the thing about like sending the URLs, and I'm not like this is basically something I know. I like rate these as if they are sending the URLs. The thing here is that like I didn't really like see anything of like really note here, and it didn't seem like that much work basically went into the project either. Like I'm not really sure how long it basically took to type out the ideas, but it felt like you just have like 10 questions there. You basically have like the outcomes, bad outcomes for like each of like the bad ones, and like a good one and a very very good one for like the easier questions. It felt like more could have been done to make it like really interesting, but whatever. It didn't really feel like it was doing anything. And no. I mean, nothing more basically saying that. I'll be blunt. I kind of feel like Slash probably should remove this game to throw out there, because it does sort of like hail to like the trademarks of what a roguelike basically is, but it wasn't traditional in any way. It wasn't even like a roguelike. Like it wasn't even a roguelike. Not just traditional. It wasn't a roguelike at all. So. I might be editing all of this, by the way, right after I read the rant, but we'll see. Like, here's the thing I'll give you. This is a game that does, like, remind me of, like, playing roguelikes. And that is something basically good to say about it. Like, but, there's not much basically more to saying that. Obviously, not a great score. You got, like, a 2. So, not the lowest score, but, I mean, it feels like this idea could have, like, done a lot more than just being, like, a simple sort of, like, quiz type of thing. Like, I'm not sure you basically want to have, like, a whole lot of, like, a lot of questions that are basically randomized, but something that could have been different could have been done here. Anyways, let's read the rant and see what it's basically all about. And I'll go back to this in a moment. So, rant. This is not a roguelike, but more of a pastiche of the rules of the Roguetemple's Fortnight. And in particular, the Roguetemple's Fortnight rules claim that the rule describes first generation roguelikes, which I disagree with. I don't think it does meet the rules because it's not impacted by pursuit of concentration in a meaningful way. So, just to throw it out there. But anyways, this defined as pastiche. A dramatic, literary, or musical piece openly imitating the previous work of yours, often with satirical intent. So, that's basically the objective here. I think I've sort of picked up on that easily enough instead of, probably anyone else playing this. So, some history. Of course, it's impossible to objectively split the extremely diverse genre into generations, but I would view the first generation of the game directly inspired by Rogue. A good break to the second generation is 1993, where the roguelike community actually started. So honestly, this is basically all conjectural. For those who don't know, I wrote down major traditional roguelikes. This is a document I did back in a while ago. So he's basically put 1993. I probably put it a little bit at the start when Diablo basically popped in. So you probably get 1994 in there as well. But whatever. He's saying 1993. So a good break to second generation is 1993, where the roguelike community actually started. Soon we had ADOM and the roguelike developers started creating bigger and bigger games. At the same time, roguelike fans were getting bored because these projects created no tangible results. In the year 2005, the Cinderella Challenge was held for the first time, showing that smaller games with more focus on tactics permadeath can be fun too. Now people in 1993 apparently meant roguelikes to be a genre in a similar way as platformer or first-person shooter, defined by how you control the character to do basic actions. The definitions included things like you press a key to move, which were an attempt to explain, while permadeath was not even mentioned in roguelike definitions. I mean, maybe back then, but I'll note that even if it wasn't mentioned in the definitions, this was something that's basically very standard in a lot of them, I think. In 2008, Slash started a trend of physical roguelike definitions, forgetting the basics but putting procedural generation and permadeath as the top features. These are pretty much the top features, by the way, because if you basically listen to the developers of Rogue, part of the reason they basically have procedural generation is because they wanted to create a puzzle that, basically if they basically already knew the puzzle, the developers, then it wasn't basically fun for them to play their own games. The thing about procedural generation is that if they made a procedure generated game, they wouldn't know what the solution is every single time. And they might know some tips and tricks basically as they play the game, but they would not know the solution every single time. And permadeath is basically a way of making the consequences a thing. Because if you just try again, you're eventually just gonna win. It's just there is penalty basically to failing to get the right solution. So these are very much top features, just to throw it out there, but whatever. Thus leading a rise to run-based games of our genres being called roguelikes. Let us call them fourth generation, and then to a fifth generation of meta progression focused games which go even against the 2008 philosophy. I mean, a lot of people have been calling these roguelikes as they realize they're different. It seems that fourth gen games is not accepted by the second gen players. In first and second gen roguelikes, focused permadeath is commonly absent, and many players save scummed. I mean, yes and no. I'll note that if you have if you ever play say Castle of the Winds, and they have a save feature basically right in there. But at the same time, I think we've gone back to the fact that we see that sort of thing as being it's kind of cheap. The thing is, I remember playing Castle of the Winds back as a child, and if I basically ran across an item, you basically just pick it up, wear it. Well, you save it before you wear it. If it's cursed, then you just you load to save, saves come that way. But I mean, it just goes to show there's a point to basically having the save feature be removed. Third gen players did not accept fifth gen games wanting clean runs. However, clean runs was commonly not a feature of first gen roguelikes. For example, NetHacks of bone files and non-systematic knowledge, e.g. fortune cookies, which corpses are safe to eat, blah blah. I think when they say clean runs, technically Tales of Monsters doesn't have clean runs if you want to include the item vault. But in many ways, a clean run. Here's the thing. I look at something that say Dungeon Mans. Dungeon Mans is basically a game that you basically progressively keep getting more and more stuff done, and you're gonna make it easier for the next runs basically come after it. And I would say it's sort of a hybrid between fifth gen whatever generally basically going right here. But whereas you say a game say FTL, Faster Than Light, that's the game that doesn't have any sort of bones file or carryover effects. You just unlock new stuff. I think the thing is when I see clean runs, they don't want to have their previous runs impacting their later runs and making it easier so way. I don't see and I have bone files making it easier for the next person basically playing right after, right? So I think that's basically what I mean, but whatever. Bone files are obviously an unclean mechanic. I mean, that's debatable. Allowing a player character to become stronger based on an earlier run. Again, that's debatable. It could kill you as well. And non-systematic knowledge means that a newbie does not lose only to the badly thought of decisions, but also due to lack of knowledge that they could not have. I mean, that's just the error of like the old roguelikes. That's just bad game design more than anything else. Also, it's weird to call a game like ADOM or Angband run-based when a run takes many hours and historically many ADOM players to escape some. This is also another thing I like to say about, it's just bad design more than anything else. The rules express the views of third-generation players. NetHack is not just a roguelike according to them. Okay, so based on all the above, how do we play on them? So, I think when you basically you look at something like this the definition here: turn-based, run-based, permanent consequences, procedural content generation, built around a single character or small party of characters. This is very loose for a definition of what basically roguelike basically is. And I'm not basically just going through just some of the games that are here. There's a bunch in which I basically have nodes based next to, and they basically technically all filled up the rules in a lot of measurements. But there's definitely a lot of games that are not traditional, just to throw out there. Like you have a forest, which is basically it doesn't contain any meaningful consequences, so I mean it's not roguelike. You have Hail on Dreams. This could be traditional roguelike. More has to be done to expand on its depth. Needs more procedural generation. So I mean, there's stuff here where you need to have certain things in order to really feel like a roguelike. But the thing is here's the thing. Something about NetHack, it is a traditional roguelike. It's just a very bad one in terms of the fact that it's just so long. This is something I know about Tales of Magiel when it basically has its expansion basically made. Tales of Magiel is a very long game, and developer Dark God knew this. He made the expansion the Embers of or whatever the expansion basically with the orcs. He made it a lot shorter, and the whole idea of making it shorter was just that it'd be more approachable for player space to play it. So the rules say nothing about the most important features of Rogue relative to text adventures that has inspired it. That you do not communicate in prose, but by pressing single keys to walk on an actual map. The first innovation mentioned in the original Rogue manual. Therefore, there is no such map in Chicken XXV. Is a text adventure. You communicate in prose. I mean, I don't see that as a thing, by the way. The map being an issue. And here's the thing. I think the bigger issue with a lot of these games that we've been playing for the Sunday Rails is not so much the community in prose, but the fact that they're more thematic. The thing about roguelikes is that they're basically all about. And here's something this wasn't addressed by Slashy here, by the way. They are very thematic in the sense you are the character going into the dungeon. You are the one who basically does the actions. So you're the one who basically gets the troll or has your head get cut off by a trap. And it's supposed to basically meaningfully show the actions that you are doing. It's supposed to be based off D&D Rogue, right? So in many ways, you have to take your cues based from D&D. It is a role-playing game. But whatever. The rules of Roguetemple's Fortnight ask for no tangible meta progression. The game contains indeed no tangible meta progression, but it's all about non-systematic knowledge. I mean, it definitely is about non-systematic knowledge, but not sure it's a good thing basically to have or whatever. The non-systematic knowledge is previously generated for the given player. So I guess possibly this could be different for different players, they have different questions. I wonder if it's possibly going to test that, by the way. So we'll go to the game here. We'll copy the link. I'm going to go to Chrome maybe and try this. Would this be different if I basically played it this time? No, we still have the priest here, so I'm not sure really what he says about it being different, so let's do this one more time, I guess. So, okay, this is written differently, I guess. So, he's got a different order. So, this thing again. Okay, so yeah, basically they are different, I guess. So, I mean, yes, no, that makes it a little bit more roguelike. Doesn't throw it out there, but you basically like just keep attempting until you get it, so it's not really roguelike. The rules of Roguetemple's Fortnight says the game should have a strategy, or at least more strategy than reflexes. The hint system is intended to provide non-trivial strategy if you want to minimize a number of deaths before winning. It's not optimal to always answer with a good answer to no. It might be better to experiment to find answers which provide hints. Always experimenting is not an optimal strategy either. That makes the metagame a bit systematic. Obviously, no reflexes are required in the game. So here's the thing, by the way. If your game basically was like, on one like issue, like the swamp might be a good thing to go into. Another one might be a bad thing to go into. I could see like this being like a thing where like you can't actually game it to like always know which is the best answer. You need to have like some like strategy in order to like sort of like know what the hints basically are, or else it's just like randomness basically for the most part, which is not what really basically are. Many questions, answers, events are inspired by actual non-systematic knowledge present in early roguelikes, Nahak, Adam, Omega, Valhalla, IG, like you don't want to do the quest like Adam about like saving a person's dog or pet or whatever it is, because that's usually bad. The high scores list is of course inspired by the classics, and also just like classics you can use to track your knowledge. Who cares? Honestly, like that's always a thing in rogues, but I actually never actually used it, so who cares? It would be possible to use more interesting procedural generation of words. For example, in the apple-like questions, the farmer could actually reveal why they think something's not apple-like, eliminating some of our choices, or they could get knowledge from transitions to other questions. However, this would make the simple rules given the rules tab no longer true. I mean, it might make it true, but it might make a better game. The role of non-systematic knowledge in early roguelikes is obviously exaggerated in this game, but like Adam in the game with mystery in the name, I would generally recommend playing games like Adam not primitive at first to learn all the secrets. Games, not roguelikes, is intentional. Systematic knowledge is about knowing the concepts of rules, while non-systematic knowledge is about knowing the rules. For example, a newbie chess player knows the rules, but they lack the systematic knowledge required to win against masters, blah, blah. Note, strategy, not tactics, working on the big picture, not making correct individual moves. So, tactically, like, for example, if I know, like, swamp is good, but it's not giving me, like, the hint, it's not optimal strategy, so to speak, to pick it. You want to basically pick the one that's, like, better. I mean, honestly, this is like a play on it. And I guess, like, this probably should be in the competition to sort of, like, demonstrate it, but here's the thing. I think, like, this will have to be refought, basically, for, like, the next one. If it's basically done, like, next year, Roguetemple's Fortnight. For example, I'll note that, like, built around a single character, small party of characters. This was actually changed, by the way. It used to be different. Let's see if I can go to Slashy's Roguetemple definitions and stuff. Does it give me, like, where it's from, or? Yes, it does. So, he's got the definition here somewhere. Let me just go find it. So here is what ones we're basically using. So, permanent consequences, character centric. So this was basically changed. Like, it used to be like, use a single character. This got changed, by the way, because it doesn't necessarily have to be like a single character you're basically playing. You could be playing like a small party of characters. And I think like Slash, you realize like, there's games like Demon, for example, out there, which basically like, you're basically like the character and you have a small party base around you. But I mean, it goes to show like, we need like a better definition basically like, to work with here. I think the thing like, that needs to be like, emphasized is the fact that it needs to be more thematic. And I'll note that's actually one of the reasons basically like gave a lot of like, notes for like these rogues, by the way, is because like, a lot of these games basically we were basically playing, they weren't thematic in like, a role-playing sort of sense. Well, I think I basically got enough for like, through this stuff. Zeno basically obviously like made it like, a very interesting thing that like, it's worth basically playing to sort of like, understand what a role like basically is and like, rethinking this a little bit. So I don't think it's bad in a sort of sense. But anyhow, enough for that. Let's move on to the next one and take care.